Hey everyone, Barefoot Dave here, and this evening I'm visiting one of my most favorite places here in Tennessee, Skullbone store. Unfortunately, Skullbone store closed in 2019. The owners, Ruby and Landon Hampton, had run the store for 55 years, and their health was failing and it was time to hang it up. But I was in the area and I just wanted to make a quick stop here and show you the store and tell you a little bit of what I remember from being here. Here's a picture of Ruby and Landon. They were an awesome, sweet couple. You could not have met better people. They always made you feel welcome and like you were family when you came here. And this little sign here shows that they ran this store from 1964 till 2019. I believe they closed March 9th. 2019, and I was actually here for that day. Very famous place. A lot of people know about Skullbone store. And interesting is that this place is known as the Kingdom of Skullbonia. And if you see up there at the top, it says this was the City Hall and Mayor's Office of Skullbone, Tennessee. Here on this side of the building, there's a little map of the Kingdom of Skullbonia. And if you see up there at the top, there's a depiction of two men fighting. So they had bare knuckle fist fights here, and skullbone fightings. They actually hit each other in the head, hence the name Skullbone. People would come from miles around to participate in these fights, and so each little town here around Skullbone had their own fighters that would come and fight. And if you see the little black area up there in the middle of the map, that is Skullbonia. And some of the towns nearby is Trezevant, Atwood, Milam, Bradford, Greenville, Sharon, Dresden, Huntington, Trenton, Rutherford, Dyer. All these little towns would have their own fighters that would come here to fight. I have sit on this porch many a times with Landon and talked. Thoroughly enjoyed myself. I don't know if I mentioned, but sadly last year Landon passed away. His body was just worn out from all the work that he'd done here. He truly gave it his all, and his motto was, be here. And they were here every day, except for one day they were both sick. They worked half a day and then went home. We're going to walk across the street here and show you a little something. This sign is really aged now, but it's a fun little sign. that tells you how far you are from this point to different places. Egypt, Singapore, Cape Town, Fairbanks, Anchorage, Vancouver, Rio de Janeiro, and each side had other locations. London, Berlin, Tokyo, New York. Mexico City, Winnipeg, Vancouver. This old sign has seen better days. And down here, this was their son Mark's place. I'm assuming it still is. And he's a collector of antiques. He always had some tractors appear around the store, and looks like he's got him an old record truck down there and a couple other old pieces of equipment and signs. Okay, let's go back across the street here. This is a neat old place. Not many places like this anymore. If you're ever out in West Tennessee, near Bradford, come by and see this old store. Even though it's not open, it's a roadside treasure that's worth seeing. Even though the store is not open anymore, you can still buy a soda here. And I think that's exactly what I'm going to do today. There we go. A nice cold Coca-Cola for me. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy this Coke and remember the good times that I've had here. This is an Angry Coke. Refreshing. I don't know if any of you noticed or not, but I'm wearing my Skullbone shirt. I'll turn around here so you can see the back. I actually have 2 hats and 2 shirts from here. And I have a little toy Farmall tractor from here as well, and a calendar. The last day they were open, I bought several little things to remember the store by, and I really treasure what I have. It's kind of neat to have them and look back on my experiences here. They had the cold drinks here in a glass bottle, which was my favorite. Their son, Mark, would come by and help here in the store. Their grandchildren sometimes would be here helping to make the sandwiches for folks. I also was here the last day the store was open, and it was a sad day, but it was also a joyful day. All of their friends came out that day. The store was just packed with people. They couldn't hardly keep up with the demand of making the bologna sandwiches. And it was a cold day, but beautiful and sunny out. I remember one evening sitting out here until closing time with Landon, and we talked about how this area had changed and some of the things that used to be here around this little Four Corners area. And there was some other little stores that used to be here, but his survived, and he worked hard to make sure his store did survive. And we used to joke and kid about me buying this store, but he said I would have a really hard time in getting the supplies. There was no trucks that would come out anymore to bring supplies except for the cold drink truck and I think the bread truck and the snacks. But the other things that a store like this would need, he had to drive all the way, I believe it was either Mississippi or Alabama, to a warehouse to get the supplies he needed to keep the store going. At one point during the 70s, there was the oil crisis, and a lot of these old stores had to quit selling fuel, but he managed to keep that going. He bought, I'm going to turn the camera around here and show you, he bought these above ground tanks, and he continued to sell fuel here. Like I say, he was determined to keep it going, to make it happen. One of the times that I came out here, I brought my banjo, and this wasn't long before the store had closed, and I played my banjo for Landon and his friends that were sitting out here on the porch, and that was really a treat to be able to do that. The last day the store was open, I drove out to their house. Landon was not feeling very well that day, and he had a lot of back problems, and so he was at home that day, and Ruby made him a sandwich, and I took it to him, and I sat out there and I visited with him at his home for a little while, and a little while later Ruby came by, and we just had a really wonderful, sweet visit with each other. Now, I don't know if there's any plans for this store to reopen. I saw on Facebook, they actually have a Facebook page for the store, and there was a little post some time ago about something coming soon here, and it looked like possibly could have been one of their grandchildren, but I'm not for sure about that. But that's been back in January. This is the middle of June. It doesn't appear that anything's happening here yet. It's kind of a shame that there wasn't anyone that could take the store over and keep it going. But in a way, it would be hard to replicate the character of Ruby and Landon. They like I say, they made everyone that came here welcome. They wanted to know who you were, where you were from, and they got to know you. And that's what makes a store like this successful. That's what makes people want to come back, is when they know that someone cares, that you're not just a customer, you're a friend. And I think that's what made them so successful here, was how they treated people, how they loved people. I really do. I really think that's why they were so successful. Just sitting here brings back a flood of memories, a flood of good memories, happy memories. We are losing these old country stores. There's not many of them left. If you have one near you, go by and patronize that store. Get to know the owners by name. Introduce yourself and support them. I would just give anything if this store was still back in operation again. But there comes a time when everybody has to let something go. Ruby and Landon were in their 80s, and they couldn't do it forever, but they did do it for a long time, and many people loved them for that. Well, thank you for watching today. Have a good one.